Hello everybody, welcome to the Apple Green family. I'd like to introduce myself to you. My name is Justin DeFlameri. I'm the Health and Safety Director for the company. At Apple Green, we strive for safety excellence. We truly want to live by the motto, safety is number one. Our main goal is to protect our travelers, which are our customers, but our most important assets, you. Here at Apple Green, we truly are a family-oriented team. We want to make sure that our associates go home the same way they came in. Now, safety truly is number one. I'd like to extend a welcome to you, and today we're going to go over numerous safety topics that better protect you. Thank you, and welcome to the team. Safety is everyone's responsibility. Bloodborne pathogens. First up is bloodborne pathogen. What is a bloodborne pathogen? Microorganisms that are carried in the blood that can cause disease in humans. Now, who is covered by the standard? All team members, all associates, who could be reasonably anticipated as the result of performing their job duties to face contact with blood and other potential infectious material, needs to be trained on bloodborne pathogen. However, we want to extend that to all associates on bloodborne pathogen awareness. Good Samaritans acts such as assisting a coworker with a nosebleed is not covered in the standard. Now, common bloodborne pathogens that we need to pay attention to, right, and protect ourselves from. That's going to be hepatitis B, so HPV, hepatitis C, HCV, HIV, malaria, syphilis, and many more. So how does exposure occur? So most common in the US is needle stick injuries. Now here at Apple Green, each restroom and facility room has a needle stick box. We always want to make sure, dealing with the public, that if any time those boxes become open, cracked, or you see a needle stick on the ground, either outside or in the restroom, we do not pick them up with our hands. Cuts from other contaminated sharps, such as broken glass, scalps, could be other, forks, knives, things of that nature, machinery. We want to make sure that, again, if we never approach broken glass, we use a broom and dustpan and never pick these items up with our hand. Contact with the mucous membrane. Again, examples such as eyes, nose, mouth, things that can potentially harm us if we're assisting with a first aid case. We want to make sure, again, we protect our mucous membranes the best we can. How do we do that? Well, we have in each first aid kit a bloodborne pathogen body fluid kit. Now, the first thing we always want to make sure we do is glove up to protect our hands, right? Just like this. Now, as we're assisting on a spill, we want to make sure that, again, we cone off the area so none of our travelers or our associates walk through and then track that bloodborne pathogen around. Now, blood's not the only thing we want to look out for. We want to look out for body fluids, could be vomit, feces, things of that nature. We always want to make sure that we take universal precautions. So again, that deals with our personal protective equipment or PPE. We want to treat all body fluids as if they are contaminated. Again, we're not just looking out for blood, we deal with all body fluids. We want to make sure that we do proper cleanup and decontamination. So again, if we're using those mops, we want to make sure that we even clean the mops, the mop heads, and a lot of people forget the outside of the mop bucket. Disposal of all contaminated materials in the proper manner, and we really want to make sure that if we are dealing with the trash, we never push down on the trash because we never know what our customers or our other associates have put in there. Work stop authority. Here at Apple Green, we empower our people to make sure their own personal safety is number one. When dealing with work stop authority, that's exactly what it means. You have the authority to stop work anytime you perceive work is unsafe or you are not properly trained to do that task. We want to make sure we empower our associates to take their own control with safety. Again, we strive for safety excellence, so we want to make sure that our team members and our associates truly have the ability to stop work and provide them with a voice. Provide employees and contract workers with the responsibility and obligation to stop work when they perceive that a condition or an act is unsafe. You have the personal responsibility to assure the safety of yourself and those around you. Safety and safety practices here at Apple Green should always be number one. Fire safety. Here at Apple Green, we empower our associates to make sure that they can fight fires. Now, we're not telling you to, but at any point in time you see a small fire that you feel comfortable extinguishing, we want to make sure that we set you up for success. We always want to remember the pass method. Now, this does not mean to pass the fire extinguisher along. What this means is pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And we're going to get into that. So, first thing you want to do is familiarize yourself where all your emergency equipment is in your workstation. This counts exit doors, fire pull stations, and most importantly, fire extinguisher. Now, the first thing we do is we want to pull out this pin. We want to aim this nozzle at the base or the lowest point of the fire. The reason we want to do that, folks, is to make sure that we smother the fire, because the higher we go, the less smothering that we do, and we want to make sure, again, we get the base of the fire. So after we pull and aim, of course, we want to make sure we squeeze the contents out of the extinguisher. And then we want to sweep side to side, left to right, to make sure we really extinguish that fire. Now again, pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep is the pass method we utilize here at Applegreen. But when you do use a fire extinguisher, for our first timers, if you do not know this, there's a big white cloud of smoke that comes out. So I want to make sure that you always have your back towards the nearest exit, so in case that smoke obstructs your vision, you know how to get out safely and properly. Now, we want to talk about what to do in case the fire alarm goes off. First and foremost, we want to treat all alarms, even the drills, as if they're a real life scenario. Never ignore an alarm and never assume that the alarm is false or the result of a test. Everyone must evacuate the building out of their nearest safe exit. Again, this is why it's very important for you to familiarize yourself with your working station, but we always want to make sure that we have a secondary route in mind. Never go back for belongings. We're not going to go back for our phones. We're not going to go back for our lunch boxes. We're not going to go back for our backpacks or our laptops. All those items are replaceable, but you are not. Meet at the proper rally point. Each plaza has an emergency evacuation outdoor rally point. If you do not know where your rally point is, please get with your plaza director to make sure that you have a better understanding of where that is. Never use an elevator to exit during a fire alarm. Some plazas do have elevators. Again, we never want to do that. The reason being is that smoke can overcome into the elevator shaft and you could suffocate, or the fire could overtake the elevator shaft and cut the power. So we want to make sure, again, that you can get out safely. Once outside, never re-enter the building. Always make sure you check in with your superiors to make sure we have a proper head count, and always make sure that you listen to the first responders. Lockout tagout. Lockout tagout deals with the hazardous energy in the workplace. Now, there's going to be 3 types of training we're going to do pertaining to lockout tagout. One is going to be for our facility team, and they are our authorized users. Now, an authorized user is somebody who can go in and either troubleshoot problems or actually fix the equipment. Because their hands and body parts are inside the equipment, they need to have an authorized training. Awareness training is exactly that. Here today, we're going to show you what a red lock and a tag looks like. Now, these red locks and tags must be identifiable, so they must have the authorized user's first and last name, so you know who to go to if there's a problem. Now, when you're working around a lockout tagout, we want to make sure that you, 1, know what it is, so it deals with protecting hazardous energy so no one can start up that piece of equipment. And we would like to make sure that you understand that anytime you see a red lock and tag, you know that that equipment is down for service. The third item is going to be other category. Now, the others are going to be, for example, Zach, our president, or sales team or brand managers that go into a facility. They also need to know what a red lock and tag means. So again, we have 3 different types of criteria dealing with lockout tagout, which protects our associates from the accidental startup of hazardous energy. It's going to be our authorized users, our facilities team who can fix the equipment. We're going to make sure that our awareness team, right, you, knows what the red lock and tag means, and the others, the people going into the plazas just for a quick visit, also know what that means. So we talked about lockout tagout and how we want to make sure that those locks and tags protect us from hazardous energy. But now let's do a deep dive into what exactly is hazardous energy. Now, hazardous energy in the workplace does not just deal with electrical, but that is one energy source we need to be aware of. There's others, such as chemical, pneumatic energy, which is air. Also, we want to make sure that we deal with mechanical, hydraulic, thermal, and again, any type of other energy sources all need to be locked and tagged out prior to employees, associates, team members sticking their hand into the equipment to make a change. During the service of equipment and maintenance, again, the expectation that we put on our facilities team is that they're going to utilize their own lock and tag in the area. Now they need to communicate to the plaza director and the affected associate, you, that they will be doing work in that area and that they will be placing their lock and tag on the piece of equipment. Never try again to start the equipment when you see that lock and tag on there. And if you are going to be an authorized user, always make sure that you check the energy sources and try to start that equipment before placing your hand into that equipment. Ladder safety. So we have some general rules for ladder safety. First and foremost, we always want to use 3 points of contact. That's either 2 hands and 1 foot or 2 feet and 1 hand. We always want to make sure when we're ascending or descending, we actually look directly at the ladder. We never want to go down backwards. We never want to stand on the top rung or the second rung of the ladder. We always want to make sure that if we need to carry objects up a ladder, that we ask an associate for help. We always want to make sure we're within the proper weight capacity on the ladder, and that can be found on the side. We always want to make sure that if we're utilizing a ladder through a doorway, we block the other side of the doorway off with a cone. A lot of times people forget, they open the door, the ladder tips over. And we do not want that here at Applegreen. We always want to make sure we have the belt buckle rule. So our waist is always going to be in the 2 side rails of the ladder. We're never going to overextend or overreach. Hazard communication and chemical safety in the workplace. Dealing with chemicals in the workplace. It is extremely important at Applegreen that you understand the chemicals you're working with or around. We want to make sure first and foremost that if you have any questions on any type of chemicals in the workplace, you utilize our safety data sheet system, or SDS. Now, years ago, it used to be called material safety data sheets. However, in 2012, they dropped the M and just went to safety data sheets. And the big change was you had the right to know the chemicals you're working around to the right to understand the chemicals you're working with and around. And that's huge. Now, our safety data sheets can be found in 2 different formats. One, there could be a binder in your work plaza. Now, every plaza is different and it varies state to state. So if you don't have a safety data sheet binder, what you do have is a safety data sheet 3E online barcode system as seen here. Now, we challenged all our plazas in a good way to make sure that that barcode system is posted near the time clock or somewhere in the plaza. So if you have any questions on that barcode system, please get with your plaza director today to make sure you understand where that is. Now, this 3E system or the binder format, what it's going to do, it's going to have every chemical you're working with or around in our workplace. If you have any questions on first aid procedures, ingredients, how to protect yourself with the proper personal protective equipment, or what to mix with or not mix with, all of these items can be found on the safety data sheets. Now, the safety data sheets, folks, have a 16-section format. Again, these formats are all important, but we want to make sure, again, you familiarize yourself with the chemicals you're working around. Workplace violence prevention. Workplace violence is the act of any threat or physical violence, harassment, intimidation, or other threatening behaviors that could disrupt the workplace. It ranges from threats of verbal abuse to physical assaults. Report any incident or anytime you feel threatened immediately to your superior. Active attacker. All right, folks, now we're going to get into active attacker. So with active attacker training, there's going to be 3 items that you can do, and they're all very important. This all depends on where you're at, where the active attacker is at, and it's on a case-by-case basis, so there is no right answer. But those 3 items that you can do are going to be run, hide, or fight. Now first we're going to get into run. Now this is the most important, and this would be our advice to do if it is safe to do so. Now run, you always want to make sure you have an escape route in mind. Always look for those exits, and if you are able to run, we want to make sure that you do not go back in for your belongings. You get out the nearest exit as quickly as possible. You make sure that you keep going. This is different from the rally point, right? If there's a fire or an emergency evacuation, we do not want employees or associates congregating at the rally points when there's an active attack or event. We want to get you off the property as quickly as possible. Keep your hands visible if you are able to run out of the facility and the police have arrived or the first responders. We want to make sure that they know you are not the threat. They do not know that when they come to the site. Now, leave your belongings behind. We don't want you folks going back in for your cell phones, for any objects, your lunchbox, things of that nature. When it is safe to do so, please call 911 and make sure that help is on the way. You do not know who has called 911, don't rely on somebody else. And again, you want to do that when it is safe to do so. The next option you can do is going to be hide. Now when we hide, folks, we want to make it as difficult as possible for that active attacker to get into the facility or into the room. Now, active attacker events usually last 3 to 5 minutes. And what happens is when it's difficult for the active attacker to enter a room or a facility, they move on to the next. And we want to make sure, again, you are protected. So be out of the active attacker's view. If you're going inside a room, you want to barricade the door the best you can. You could use chairs, tables, or things of that nature, any type of object, so when somebody enters the door, it's difficult for them to enter the room. Lock the door if you can, and always remember to silence your cell phone. Now, another very important concept when we hide, folks, is we always want to give you that out, and we never want you to be a statistic. So we want to make sure that you hide with the intent to fight. So don't just cower under a table with your hands over your head. Hide with the intent to fight and have a game plan for the next option, which is going to be fight. What you want to do when we fight is we want to act as aggressively as we can towards the active attacker. Be screaming, throwing objects. We want to make sure that you commit to your actions. Look around. When you fight, you can utilize weapons in your workplace. Fire extinguishers, staplers, tape, wires, things of that nature. Again, always make sure that you give yourself an out and don't be a statistic. So the 3 options you can do is run, hide, or fight. Workplace injuries. Now hopefully, folks, we never have this happen, but unfortunately things in the workplace do happen. Now, when it comes to reporting an injury, we want to make sure that it is as quickly as possible. The reason being is this helps protect you as the associate. 1, it lets us start our development plan to help aid in your injury. For example, if you hurt your arm, maybe it hurts for the rest of the shift, we assign you some type of different job change for that shift to allow you to recover. Second, it informs our insurance company right away, so if you do need any measure beyond first aid, they can help with that and provide great detail on where to go and case management. So again, if you become hurt in the workplace, we want to make sure we know about it as soon as possible. Please report that to your superior and make sure that you give as much detail as possible so we, when we fill it out, can prevent it from happening again in the future. Carbon dioxide and gas in the workplace. Now folks, we have many different types of gases in the workplace. We have propane, we have carbon monoxide, and most importantly, we have carbon dioxide. Now a lot of this is used for our soda machines. However, we do have an alarm system, and we want to make sure that you, as our associate, are aware of what they mean. A lot of times, folks, when people hear an alarm, what do? They go into the room to check it out. Now with carbon dioxide, right, we want to make sure that this does not happen and you evacuate the area and proceed outside as quickly as possible and call the fire department. The reason being is carbon dioxide actually can suffocate you, it displaces the oxygen, and we want to make sure that you do not enter the facility or the room when the alarm is going off. So again, if you see this alarm going off, do not enter. Please leave the facility and clear out the area as quickly as possible and call the fire department. Well, folks, thank you very much for attending the New Hire Safety Orientation. Again, I would like to welcome you to the Apple Green family, and I hope you have a long and healthy career. At any point in time, you have any safety suggestions, please take it back to your plaza director, your superior, or myself. I highly encourage you to get involved with one of our safety programs. It could be Apple Green Academy, submitting a Band-Aid award, joining the monthly safety committee, joining one of our sub-safety committees like the CPR team or the first aid team, things of that nature. I look forward to meeting you in person, and have a safe day.